So for the longest time, we were like, wow, Barbara Crampton does not fuck around. Like, Barbara Crampton is no bullshit.
No,
and
I
like,
am no bullshit.
Yeah,
no,
and now knowing you so much better, it's like, oh yeah, that's very true and very awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, James.
Hi, Catherine.
I feel like I haven't seen you in so long. It's been like 4 hours.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, but before that, I was gone for a while.
You were. You did it. Your first. We both did our first live taping.
That's true. Yeah, Dead Meat Podcast and Scream Dreams both had live.
Yours looked incredible.
It was pretty cool.
Where? How did you did it in Masonic Temple, right?
The Detroit Masonic Temple, which is the largest Masonic temple in the world. We did it in the chapel, so like a smaller room of it, not like the main theater. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. We did ours at the Overlook Film Festival. We missed you. I meant to bring you a bag. I didn't. You're gonna have to get it next time for me.
What's the bag?
We had merchandise bags with your face on them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, my face.
Like, yeah, your face and my face.
And someone else's face.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because our guest today, hello, I'm Catherine Corcoran, if you didn't gather.
And I'm James A. Janisse.
And this is Scream Dreams, where we sit and talk to filmmakers and creatives about their nightmares and find out what actually terrifies them. And today, we're so lucky because we get to interview the sidebar herself, the infamous, incredible actress, producer, Barbara Crampton.
Woohoo!
Hey.
Oh my God. I feel so strange sitting in this chair.
Yeah.
Was it weird to poof in?
No. I always poof in.
I know, but was it weird to poof on a different angle?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to
It was.
change
Yeah.
your calibration.
It just feels, oh so strange and mysterious. But life is like that. You just got to go with it.
Yeah. Like today, we're going on a whim today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we just didn't have an extra guest today. So we just were like, we'll interview Barbara.
Maybe people want to hear from Barbara.
Yeah.
No, but
I think so.
I think so too. We've been saying we want to do this, all just the three of us.
Interview each other. So, periodically I think we'll do that and, we can fill in with that when we don't have a guest.
Oh, yeah. That means one day would that mean us sitting in that chair?
Yeah.
Together.
That'd be weird. Squeezed in real tight.
Yes, I'll interview you both from over there.
She'll lounge like this, and we'll both be in this little tiny chair.
But we had a really good time, I have
to
say, because we did our first live at the Overlook Film Festival, and people seemed to love it,
Yeah.
How's David? Did you know him beforehand?
I did,
Okay.
yeah. He was incredible. He's an incredible artist and actor and just all around bon vivant kind of horror actor.
Yeah. I've never met him, but he seems really cool in his career. He constantly has stuff going on. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's built himself up from, having a lot of issues in his life, and he talks about it being an addict and, growing up sort of just not really having a lot of, just stuff going on in his life that would motivate him to be a more positive person. And he has really picked himself up by his bootstraps and just gone on to have an incredible career. And just, incrementally. And we said this to him in the interview. It's like, at some point, this business is really hard, right? Mm-hmm. And to stay relevant. And actually, this morning, Scott Derrickson put a tweet out saying, I don't know what the exact tweet was, but this business makes you have to keep pushing and keep recreating yourself no matter how successful you are, especially in the studio system. And so, and I look back on my career of being, doing this for like 40 years, and then I look at the parameters, with what David Dastmalchian has gone through, and I think you just have to keep going and keep going and keep going until they just can't deny you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everybody says, oh, okay, you get a seat at the table now. I mean, you do have to keep advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
But it gets a little bit easier and a little bit easier as you go along.
The very first time, I don't know if we've ever told this story on the podcast, maybe we have, but the very first time I ever met Barbara was at one of my very first horror conventions. I had done Comic-Cons, but those are like press junkets. They're kind of different. But horror conventions are a very different animal. And I was like it was actually the first time I met you too, James.
Oh,
were you there?
Yes.
In Rochester, New York?
It was Niagara Falls.
No, it was Rochester.
It was?
Yeah.
Same area. Yeah.
Same area. Yeah, but it was the first time I met you.
Scaricon, right?
Maybe it wasn't. You're right. I think it was Rochester.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was the first time I met both of you. This is so funny. How serendipitous is this? So
it was
the
a very
first...
small convention.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Like not very well attended at that time. I don't know if it's grown since then.
Yeah.
But we were all kind of sitting around going, okay.
Yeah, and so I was like, I remember getting in, and I was very close with Nick, and so I was nervous. So I had been texting him like, leading up, and he knew I was a fan of yours. Barbara wrote this article called "Don't Call Me a Scream Queen" before she had her Fangoria column, which is brilliant. And if you guys haven't read her most recent about the state of the business, which we should talk about, you definitely should. So I'd always talk about this article, and I always talk about Barbara, and I was standing there, and you were like across from me diagonally. So I'm texting Nick. I'm like, oh my God, Barbara Crampton's here. I didn't know I didn't know Barbara was gonna be here, And he's like, why don't you go over and say hi? And I was like, no. Oh no, I can't. I cannot do that. No way. And before I could even finish texting him, you beelined across the room, and you were like, Catherine, I just watched Long Lost. You were so great. And my mouth like fell to the floor. I was like, you think I'm great?
Yes.
I think you're so great.
Because of my relationship with Nick, I watched Long Lost and I thought, who is this girl? She's an amazing actress. And so I was prepped already. I knew I was going to come and say hello to you. And that was just a given because I respected your work. And I knew that you were friendly with Nick, I guess, because Nick and I had been texting back and forth. And because I was in the New York area, I think I had been in New York City right before that. And I wanted to get together with him and see him. And he kept being strange about it and not wanting to see me or not having time. And I was like, well, that's really weird. And I knew that you were friends with him. I'm not sure if I knew to the extent that how close you were. But when, we bonded because, you didn't tell me anything. I'm being very cagey right now, but there was something going on with Nick that you didn't divulge to me, that you knew, but we bonded over our mutual respect for Nick.
Yeah.
And who he was as a person and his acting. And also, I just thought you were brilliant in that movie. So of course I wanted to introduce myself to you. I'm so excited when I go to any convention and I see other actors that I admire.
Oh, it's so fun meeting people.
Right?
There.
Isn't it fun? And everybody's a person. So people are different in the way that they want to interact with people. And some people are a little like, oh, hi, I might say to somebody, I love you and blah, 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 blah. But then some people are very open and warm and just also want to communicate with you. And, I've made friends on the convention circuit. Jeff Daniel Phillips is one of those people that I met at a convention, and he was with Richard Brake for all of the Rob Zombie movies. And I was sitting with Jeffrey Combs, I think it was Crypticon or something. Anyway, they were sitting at another table. And I was like, oh my God, I love those guys. They're amazing. Jeff, don't you love those guys? And he's like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they're nice. I was like trying to get Jeff to go along. I guess so. And I was like, oh my God, I just want to talk to those guys. So I went over and I said hello to them. And then I invited them to join us at our table. And I've been best friends with Jeff ever since.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
So
I remember it was at that convention that Felissa introduced Chelsea and I to you at like the after party near the bar. And that was our first time getting to talk to you as like, oh, we're both here guests at this convention. Because prior to that, we had talked to you briefly at Texas Frightmare and I think 2018 or 19, where like you're in our video of it, and I forget what question we asked you. But then I remember we're also talking to you outside the video, and it was this thing where Chelsea had said she wanted to like message someone, or you guys had interacted on Twitter, and I think on Twitter you had told her to message someone about an opportunity. and you asked about it, and Chelsea was like, oh, I haven't done it yet. And you were like, well, you need to do that. And we were like, so for the longest time, we were like, wow, Barbara Crampton does not fuck around. Like, Barbara Crampton is no bullshit.
No.
And
I
like,
am no bullshit.
Yeah,
No,
and now knowing you so much better, it's like, oh yeah, that's very true and very awesome.
Yeah.
That you're just so forward.
I'm pretty forward.
Yeah.
I'm pretty forward, and you know, nothing scares me. I grew up in the carnival business. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know, the bearded lady and the two-headed cow and whatever. I mean, I've seen it all. I've hung out with ride boys who were misfits of society, and they were my friends.
Is a ride? It's just people who operate the rides.
Yeah.
They're called ride boys.
They're called ride boys.
That's awesome.
That is,
Should be the name of a new script, Ride Boys.
that sounds not. It gave me like a sexual innuendo vibe that I was like not like.
Yeah, no.
Ride boys.
I was like,
Ride
whoa.
boys.
What?
Yeah. No, nothing scares me, and also I just want to cut to the chase most of the time.
Yes.
So that's why I do enjoy being a producer. But
And
also,
it's great, and it's so
yeah.
refreshing, especially in this industry where you get
I
in this
think that-
town where
It's the only way to get anything done anyway. You have to kind of plow through.
Mhm.
So I just try to plow through as much as I can.
What do you think right now? Because you have this amazing column in Fangoria called Scene Queen, and you just wrote about the
Right.
state of the business. What do you think, in your opinion, as we move forward as filmmakers, as independent filmmakers, because the gap has never been greater, right? In budgets, you have these like $100 million films, and then you have these tiny $1 million pictures, and there's really nothing
And
in the
less
middle.
than 1 million.
Yeah.
300,000, you know.
Yeah.
150 people are making movies for 150,000.
Yeah, and-
I don't think you can go too much lower than that.
Yeah.
But even Joe, I know what your question is going to be, but even Joe Swanberg, I'll just cut to the chase.
Do it.
But Joe Swanberg
Barb.
years ago was making movies for like $20,000 and selling them to IFC for $40,000. This is when nobody knew who Joe Swanberg was.
yeah.
And I think going forward, you know, listen, we're in a contraction period and everybody's not happy and freaking out. And I also think there's never been a greater opportunity to make a small movie and make a name for yourself. And I think that there's more experimental stuff happening now. There's, I mean, I haven't seen In a Violent Nature yet, but
Yeah, that
I
looks
know
exciting.
the filmmakers for that, and I know that they made that on a very, very small budget, and it's exploded. So I do think that when we look back, I don't have a crystal ball, but I kind of think it'll be a new wave of filmmakers that maybe wouldn't have gotten a chance to be seen before will be seen, and it'll be like the 70s all over again when there was experimental stuff happening and really cool actors doing cool, amazing work because there's no other work, so they will come back to the smaller movies and to the smaller filmmakers. And I think you have to stay true to your vision and make something that's really personal and cool, and just work with your friends and make it really super small and teach yourself how to do everything. And you know, if you don't get, I mean, there's a few filmmakers that I know that have made movies for like $1 million, and so the distributors want to give them $30,000, you know, to put their movie on a platform. So that's not sustainable. So I think you should maybe do it yourself, you know, get a lawyer, put things out yourself.
Yeah.
You know, make your own distribution deals, and maybe
Cut
try
out
to do that. If you're not going to get your money back on it, then why sell it to somebody else? You know, I mean, maybe for the visibility, yes. I mean, that's definitely helped certain people.
Yeah.
Making a movie. I mean, The Last Stop in Yuma County, which I'm in, was made for a pretty good budget, and I think that filmmaker is having a moment right now, Francis Galuppi,
Yeah.
because he has an uncompromising vision for that movie, and I think you know, he may have, you know, it may take a long time to get the finances back on that particular movie, but where that's advancing, everybody that was involved in that film was probably worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we'll see an explosion of some smaller cool movies and cool filmmakers coming out. yourself included. You told me
Yeah.
you just wrote a script.
No, I have not written a script. We're trying to produce a script a friend wrote. I don't have the time to write a script, unfortunately. I would
No, you're
love
kind
to.
of busy.
I would
Yeah.
absolutely love to, but can't get off this treadmill right now.
But you want to act.
yes.
Yes.
You want to do more acting, and you've done a little bit of that.
A little bit,
And
yeah.
you and Chelsea are both so talented. I think that's the other things. Like, we talk about, this is like with the first time we've really gotten to talk about the three of us. But I think, just like you inspire me and we inspire each other. I'm always so blown away by you and your wife, Chelsea, and all the amazing work that you guys do and the production level that I don't think people realize how much goes into what they make and the builds and like the technical, like it makes
We've
what we
been
do
to
here,
your house, so we've seen it.
It makes what
Yeah.
we do
Those are
here
investments.
look like your like high school science project. Like it is so
High tech.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so like you guys run your own mini studio, and I think Barbara's totally right. You guys are the next wave of like incredible filmmakers.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter is studying new media at school,
Yeah.
and so what is that? I guess it's TikTok. I guess it's new ways of watching programs and films and things, and there's stuff out there that we haven't seen yet that is going to take over. I don't know what that is, but I mean, some of it is probably going back to cable TV and ads and things like that. But I think for distributors to make money, but I also think there'll be a new way to watch movies, and I'm just not sure what that is. I mean, Quibi was like an experiment. Maybe it just came too soon.
Maybe a little bit,
know?
Yeah.
I mean, it was the same thing with like Vine that came.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vine. I used to love those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
that failed. But then TikTok
Right.
kind of.
But what's really interesting is I knew the team and one of the guys that helped create Vine, and he pivoted to this thing that did really well for a while and into the pandemic. That was this live game show that you could play on your app.
The trivia one.
Yeah, I did an episode of it as like a guest host when they were in beta, because
What was it called?
I totally forget now. This is gonna bother me. It was
Yeah.
like, but that was a really cool model too. That was a little bit ahead of its time because it was like just before the pandemic. But like the idea
that was big. It was like every day at the same time.
yeah, and it was a live host, so it like
Yeah, that guy was
activated.
great. I always wanted that
So
job.
Yeah, you would be great at that.
I know,
job.
right?
So you play a game?
Like
It was like a trivia game,
like
and
you
then-
would as if you were a contestant.
But
on
if
a
you
game
get one
show.
wrong, you were out, and then like it went down to just like a couple hundred people. Do you remember this?
and you could win money.
I can't believe. Yeah.
Oh
you would-
yes, I
yeah.
do. And my son was playing it a lot for a while. Yeah.
I can't believe I can't remember the name, but
No.
it's
And
from,
you had
it's from
a
the
certain
before
amount of
time.
time.
So.
They also
You had
were
a certain amount of time where you had
to answer.
to answer, and if
Yeah.
you didn't, there was a.
But again, it was the
Yeah.
idea of like activating, similar to what you do on your show, like what we are trying to do with Scream Dreams, like activating audiences, community together to kind of like create something that's still live programming, but thinking about the model differently.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to peel back the curtain as much as possible. Like, if anybody wants to ask me, there's a lot I don't know, but if anybody ever wants to ask me questions about anything, part of my column is to talk about, in Fangoria, is to talk about the state of the business and what we're doing. And sometimes it's more creative and sometimes it's more production and, financial in a way. Too, sometimes maybe I haven't talked about that enough, but maybe I should talk about that.
Well,
it's just
Well, here's a
how
question.
do you pay for your movie?
Well, here's a
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
that I think that you might be able to weigh in on for other actors, and maybe this is a good point. If you are watching this and you have not subscribed to our Patreon,
Yeah.
subscribe to our Patreon, and if you have questions like this for any of us about how we
Sure.
make our work or how Barbara makes her work or what she thinks, write in and we'll try to answer them maybe at another session like this on the show. I don't know, this is just an idea. Our producers might hate that I've suggested this, but I think as we're wrapping up, if you could probably weigh in on why you think films aren't selling in the way that you would, and what advice you would
Right.
give to filmmakers who are trying to get their films out there.
I think there's a lot of product out there, and Landon Zackheim, who is one of the best directors of the Overlook and also the Sundance Film Festival, told me that they've had unprecedented record numbers of submissions. So there's a lot of product out there. So it's just like a TV. If you have a lot of TVs, the TVs are going to cost, they're going to cost less. You know what I mean? So you're going to be able to buy them
Buyer's
cheaper.
market, yeah.
So so it's a buyer's market right now, and there's amazing films that people are doing, and it's just hard to get any publicity on your film, because sometimes you do this great little movie and it comes out, like Long Lost, I thought was amazing, but a lot of people don't know of that movie.
Yeah.
And you know, I've done a couple of movies that people maybe they just haven't seen because it didn't get enough publicity. So I think there's a lot of people doing it, but at the same time I want to tell people that there's always a way, because this is what I see when I'm on the social media, that, you know, people are saying, well, there's gatekeepers and people aren't letting me in and I don't know how to do this, and, you know, won't you listen to me, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'll help you, but there's always a way for you to figure it out, you know, and everybody has different strengths. I know what my strengths are, and I know the way that I need to talk to people or to convince them to do my bidding. And I know just the ways that I can push to make things happen. You have to be very proactive. You have to take action. I'm going to go back to something that Tony Robbins said in his book, Awaken the Giant Within, because I read a lot of these self-help books. And he said, successful people don't always make the right decisions. They just make more of them. So they take action more often. So you just have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
And be willing to fail.
And
when
be
you don't
willing
make the
to
right
fail.
decisions.
And by your failure, you'll be able to see what could work the next time. You know, if this didn't work, well, I've got to pivot to this or to this.
Yeah.
That's,
you know?
That's what Nick used to say. He used to say, all you have to do to be successful in this business is keep doing it. Just keep making movies. Just keep telling stories.
Everybody says that. I mean, listen, I look back and I had 6 or 7 years where I didn't do a film. I was raising my family and I thought, well, that's it. I'm out. I'm done. My career's over. I mean, I've had my kids and then I can't get back in. But any artistic endeavor is the long game. And you're going to have years that are going to be up and you're going to have years that are going to be down.
Yeah.
And so when you look back, if you just don't quit, you will have some successes. You will have some wins. And it's just the long game to be an artist. It's just the long game.
Yeah.
As we have to wrap up a little bit, what then is your nightlight? What is the thing that keeps you going?
Oh, it's definitely my children. And as I said, I could cry because I love them so much. But yeah, my children are amazing people and inspire me all the time. And they also, as I have always asked them questions and, you know, poked them and prodded them to open up and really think about stuff, they do the same thing for me as I've gotten older. So, you know, they keep me going and keep me on my toes.
Yeah, it must be exciting to have them at like adult age now, where they're like
such
almost,
great
you know,
humans.
peers, you know.
Well, yeah, it's like friends.
Yeah,
I'd say.
exactly.
I feel like they're, you know, they're like my friends now,
That's great.
and my children, but my friends.
Oh, that's amazing. Barbara, you inspire us so much. Thank you for being the light that comes in every episode for us, but also in our lives, always building us
I love
up.
you guys so much.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
All of Barbara's films are available online, but you have a couple coming out in the next month, actually.
Last Stop in Yuma County, Little Bites. I did something on a TV show.
Oh yeah.
And you know about this. You guys know. It's coming out towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I'm not allowed to say that I was part of it, but it's really cool.
I just need that thing to come out.
I did an episode in a new TV series, so I can't talk about that. Yeah. And Blackout is out right now.
Oh yes,
Larry
with
Fessenden's movie.
Yeah.
So there are all these amazing things you can watch of Barbara's. If you liked the show, please let us know. Please subscribe. follow all of us on social media, but also on Patreon. I think if you do have questions, we'd love to hear about what you want to hear on the show.
I'll
We'd
answer your questions. I mean, I try to
Yeah.
on Twitter. Even when people ask me questions, I try to answer them.
Yeah, we'll do more of these powwows where maybe we
Sure.
answer your questions.
Yeah,
You know?
maybe write in and we can read them.
Yeah, we'd love that. Until next time, this has been such a fun spin-off.
I'm Barbara Crampton.
You
Yes.
are Barbara Crampton. I'm Catherine Corcoran.
And I'm James A. Janisse. Be sure to leave the light on.